This is the Woodpeckers Auto Angle Drill Guide. Is it any good? No idea. Let's find out. Welcome back to the Woodgrafter. Now, a few months ago I did a review of the UJK Angle Drill Guide, and it was a well received review and lots of comments. Now, some of those comments were saying to me, how does this compare with the Woodpeckers device? I don't know, I said. I don't have one. Now, Julian from our community got in touch and said, hey Andy, I have one of those. I'll ping it over to you, do a test and see what we think. So huge thank you to Julian in the community for making this video possible. I'm under no contract to anybody to be nice about the products I review, so you'll get the truth and the honest truth as always from the Woodgrafter. So today we'll start off, we'll unbox this and see what we get in the standard kit. We'll then look at the options in the range and see what additional things you can get for this guide. We'll talk about the all-important price point and also availability and shipping of this product. I then want to get into the features and see what sets this apart from anything else on the marketplace, and then we'll put it through its paces with some simple drilling type activity that you're likely to want inside the workshop, and then summarise and see what we think. So that said, let's start the unboxing and see what we get in the kit. Now, one thing I was impressed with, it comes in a no frills cardboard box. This is the one that ships out from Woodpeckers, as you can probably tell by all the Woodpeckers tape all over it. And there's no bleaching in this process, there's no printing in this process, there's no plastics inside the overall box at all, and everything comes well packed with these dividers inside to make sure it's all nicely secure and shipped, which is great because these ship from the US all over the world. And there's no single-use plastics, everything's inside these recyclable paper, so this is a really good way of shipping things around the world. No thrills, no excitement, but incredibly well packed. Fit for purpose, does the job. I like this, and I'd love to see more manufacturers adopting this sort of low environmental impact on their products, apart from obviously shipping it around the world, which does have an environmental impact. But that's what Woodpeckers ship in, and it's a great idea. So when you open the box, the main event is the drill guide itself, and it comes assembled in this way, so there's minimal assembly to actually do on this guide, and we'll get into it and look at the features in a second. You also get the owner's guide that talks you through the features, the steins, specifications, along with some of the accessories that you can get for this and how you actually use the products. So it's quite a good, thorough manual. There's also a QR code that takes you over some videos that Woodpeckers have created that show you how to use that. You then get this box here, and inside this box you get some goodies. You get 3 handles, you get 2 of these longer stabilizing handles, what they call a multi-knob. You get 2 guide bars here, and they work with this extension piece, and that's got multi-functions, and we'll look at that shortly. And then you get a bag that contains a chuck key, a number of centralizing pins that double as adapters, and a couple of screws. And that's pretty much it what you get in the kit. Now, this kit here is what's known as the standard kit. Now, you can get a second kit that's known as the deluxe kit, and in the deluxe kit you get some additional goodies. You get all of the things mentioned here. You also get 2 flag stops. Now, these flag stops are probably some of the best engineered flag stops I've ever seen. Not only are they cute, but they're really gorgeous. They're solid aluminium, they're heavy, they're well engineered, very secure, no flex inside them whatsoever. As I say, they're probably some of the best flag stops I've seen on the market. And along with the flag stops, you also get 6 of these extension bars. And they mount to the base using some adapter pins, and they give you repeatability using the flags and some adaptability and extensions using this bracket here that we'll look at shortly. And you also get a small spanner for mounting that. The standard kit will be £477.54, but that's now excluding VAT or import duties that we're going to get hit with. And the deluxe kit is going to cost us £557.14, again excluding. Shipping to the UK is going to cost us $169, £134.51. So the total price point for this, for the deluxe one, £691.65 shipped to your door plus VAT. And for the standard one, excluding the kit, £612.05 plus VAT shipped to your door. So allowing for VAT, and don't forget that VAT is applied to the full import costs, not just the cost of the product, this is going to cost you £829.98 shipped to your door, including imports, or for the standard kit, £734.46. Now in Europe, our friends over at Souter Shop do actually stock this product, and for the standard kit, about €1,100. That's around £1,000, UK pounds, and that excludes any shipping fees depending where you are in Europe. So the cheapest option in Europe or the UK or the US to get this product is shipping it directly from Woodpeckers. It's about an 8 to 10 week pre-order, so it's not a quick process, and as I say, they're the sort of kind of prices. So now let's put this thing together. There's very little to do, but let's just put it together so you can see how that works. I'm going to put the extension kit on one side for the time being. Now out of the box, this has two nuts here. It has one on this side here and one on this side here, and they're known as drag nuts, and they put a little bit of friction onto this to stop it flopping about. So what you want to do is just to back those off ever so slightly, to the point where this can now move, but it's not sort of kind of flopping about. Just tighten that one up a bit. There you go. So you want to feel a little bit of resistance on those two nuts there. Don't take them off. Leave them in place like that. Then you take these red handles. These are also cast in aluminium, really high quality, and again feel nice and robust and secure. And they do have a thread inside them, so they simply screw on. And when they're slackened off, this will adjust into the appropriate angle, but those drag bolts just stop it moving too far. And once you lock it down, you just simply twist that, and then that is locked in place. Now this plate here is known as the fence, which gives you a huge clue about what it's for. And these extension rods fit into a number of tapped holes. You've got two here at the front, you've got two here at the side, you've got two here at the rear, and you've got two here at this side. And I think it's pretty obvious what these do. These fit nicely into those front holes like so. Now in the top here you have these two knurled knobs, and when you unscrew those you can see actually they're quite a nice little design, because they've got an Allen key, a hex key on top that fits inside there, allowing you to just tighten those down, which is a nice piece of engineering, I think. And you have that feature on both of these at the top here. Now you can fit this fence in a number of different orientations depending on what you're going to be doing. The obvious one is you just slide it onto the front like so, bring it up to the appropriate position you want, just tighten down those knurled knobs, and now you've got repeatability of your drill against this reference edge. Now you can also fit this fence in this orientation like so. Then this reference face here is coplanar to this surface here, so if you're working on the side of a cabinet, then you can reference your device like so, and then you can drill into the side of the cabinet as well, so that's pretty good. This here is also a reference face, and when that's in place it just gives you an additional bit of support, so you can, when you're drilling down here, you can just hold this firm on this edge here, and that stops the entire thing tipping if you're doing a particularly nasty cut. You'll also see that this has got a curved edge here with a small little inset there. This can also mount in this direction, and at that point you can see that the drill press will slide quite happily over that mounting plate, allowing you to drill right down to the edge of the board if you so wish. So this fence here is really fantastic, well designed, quality workmanship as you'd expect from Woodpeckers given their reputation, and very versatile. And that functionality with having a reference face here, reference face here, reference face here, reference face here, gives you so much versatility in the use of this, even before you look at the angle. That really is a nice feature. Now remember in our deluxe kit we got some additional rods here, some extension rods, and these quite happily will screw into the end of those rods. Use the spanner to just nip those down, and you can see we've now got extension to however long you want to based on those rods. So it really gives you lots of versatility. Now, just something to be aware of, the threads here on the extension rods are a different size. They're much smaller than the threads here on the standard rods, and that's obviously an engineering decision so you don't over weaken the walls of the standard rod when you bring that together. But it does mean that these do not fit directly into those holes. They just simply won't tighten up. Now, Woodpeckers have thought about that, and inside the little bag that came with the standard kit you've got these two pins here, and these are known as extension pins. And the extension rods can simply screw into those extension pins, and then you've got the wider thread that will then go through and screw directly into the base like so. Now, sadly, there's no obvious storage on the device for these, but you could always obviously just store these screwed into position if you so wish, but it would have been nice to see some storage. There may be some, I may not just have discovered it yet. It obviously comes with a standard chuck, and this particular chuck here is 5/64 to 1/2 of an inch, or 2 to 13 millimeters, and it comes with a pretty standard chuck key. And that's nice, it's a nice action inside there. It's super smooth, as you would expect it to be. It also comes with this knob here that's known as the multi-knob, and that can replace either of your side handles. To do that, drop off the aluminium knob, drop off the drag nut, and just put those on one side for safekeeping, and then you can drop on the multi-knob. Now, the idea of the multi-knob, if you're working up to the side of a cabinet, you can see it's going to allow you to come in a lot closer than you can with the standard knob. So that's what that's for, and obviously that will fit on either side of the device. On the side here, you've got a gauge that reads from 90 at this point to 40 at this point. That's obviously an angle, so 90 degrees through to 40 degrees. The primary increments are in 10, so 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, and then there's 1 degree increments in each of those with a proud increment at the 5 point. So if I wanted to drill a hole at 70 degrees, I can line up that little brass indent there with that angle, lock it down, and I'm good to go with that angle. And that gauge is on this side, and also there's an equivalent gauge over on this side. The brass angle itself is adjustable, so you can calibrate this to a level. It's got 2 small Allen keys inside here, and that angle there can just simply adjust to give you accurate calibration. But out of the factory, it's pre-calibrated, so you shouldn't really need to mess with that in theory. Now, the machine head itself is also aluminium. In fact, everything on this is either steel or aluminium. The only plastic you're going to find, for some strange reason, is on the multi-knob, which is a hard plastic, but everything else says either steel, stainless steel, or aluminium, and it's really quite nice. It's a weighty product overall because of that, and it feels like quality. Your adapter to your drill is a standard hexagonal shaft. Notice it's not a Centronics shaft, so if you come along with something like the Festool Centronics, it's just not going to fit for you, so be aware of that. It will work with a standard chuck, including the one that comes with the Centronics system, so that will work pretty well. With it being a hex shaft, it will take the hex mount from a Festool drill, and as you can see, it's a direct drive through there, no gearing, direct shaft through there. There are some bearings inside here that should be maintenance free, but there is a spring washer here that would allow you to disassemble that if you did want to maintain, re-grease or re-oil, but you shouldn't need to do that, but you can get access to those, which is good to know. Now, these bearings here are not designed to work with a hammer drill nor with an impact driver, so please do not start to use this as a hammer drill function or an impact driver function. But for this little C18 Festool drill, it's absolutely perfect. And with that hex shaft, it's super on and offable. Now these are obviously designed so you drill down through this opening here inside the stand into your material. This is fixed, so you're not going to be able to put material on top of this, so you are dependent on the opening here for the biggest drill that you can have. But this is quite generous, and your restriction is going to be this curve here on this block of aluminium. From the widest part of that curve to the center point is around about 1 3/4 inches. So your biggest diameter of drill bit is going to be about, what, 3.5 inches, which is pretty generous. So a 1/2 inch drive, 3.5 inch opening here is pretty good. Now for those of you who are familiar with the Woodpeckers Auto Line drill guide, you will now say, hey, yeah, but you can take that off, Andy, and spin it round and get a bigger aperture down here. And you're right to a point. This will come off simply by taking off those two little nuts, and that will indeed spin round on its stand. But unlike the auto drive, that now lines up with the back of the overall base here, so you can't actually use it in this position, so you're not going to get any advantage or gain anything by spinning this around. So on this particular version, you are limited in drill size to this large aperture down here, but bearing in mind something like 3.5 inches, you're not really going to go far wrong. And that's getting on for 89mm if you're working in metric. So it's a pretty substantial drill you can use here. This does come off and on very easily. It's very, very smooth, and this is obviously got self-lubricating bearings, stainless steel inside here, so stainless steel running against stainless steel, and it's very, very smooth. You can't help but notice the spring, and the spring will always bring that to a return point. And as you can see, even with the drill on, that spring is strong enough to push the drill back up, so it's not going to fall down under the weight of your drill. And that makes a very, very smooth action indeed, which is nice. Now this also has a depth stop on it here. Again, an aluminium ring with a stainless steel knurled knob behind it, and you can just set that at different positions on here. Now there's no index on here, but what it does have is a flat face, and this flat face is tapered, so it's going from thin to thick. What that means is the more force you put on that drill stop, the tighter it becomes on this taper, and that's a really simple but good piece of engineering. So this is not going to adjust much, so your depth is not going to vary once you've got that positioned how you want it between drills, which I think is pretty awesome. Nice piece of engineering. Now this spring will compress, and once it's fully compressed it obviously bottoms out, but that spring is removable. Very easy to do, and also drop off your depth stop and then drop in your machine head again. Now watch this with precision. You'd expect when I let that go it'll crash down, but that is so well engineered that it doesn't crash down, and it's a simple piece of pressure to bring it down. Now when I bring all the way down to the base, the chuck is bottoming out on the material. So if you needed a maximum depth of cut, the thing that would limit you is not this device, but the length of your overall bit that you were using, which is pretty special really. Just want to have a quick look at the flag stop. So I'm just dropping in one of those extension rods that came with the deluxe kit into the side using our adapter pin that we saw before. And these gorgeous little stops that I just can't get enough of simply slot on to that rod, and I can now set those for a certain distance. So the combination of the flag stop and the combination of the front fence gives me the ability to get repeatable holes time and time again. And because in our kit we get 2 of these, I can therefore obviously set multiple positions, and then I can start to drill a series of holes accurately, consistently on multiple bits of material. So this is a very good piece of kit, and that's about $100 more if you buy to the deluxe from the standard. So given the VAT and the shipping costs, if you were going to go for this, go for the deluxe kit, because this is going to give you so much additional functionality. But that's pretty much what the kit does. Obviously we can use more rods to extend this direction or in this direction, but that's fundamentally what that does for you. Now on the back of the kit here, in these little mounting holes, you have these two little knob looking things, and they are multifunctional, and we'll look at those now. Now they're held on with a couple of Allen keys, and I don't think it's any mistake that they're exactly the same Allen key that comes on the bottom of your thumb screw. That's a 5mm Allen key. Now I'm not sure it's because Julian tightened these down or it came shipped that way, but these are too tight for me to open up with those knurls. So a 5mm key will help me to solve that problem. And these mount into the base of the plate, one here and one here. To mount them, you just take out these nuts, because these have a threaded hole inside. And then you can simply come through from the top here and tighten that into position. Now the first purpose of these is for use with round stock. Now the first thing I've found that I don't like about this design is there's no key on these, so these can be positioned at any angle, and as you can see here, that's in a different position to this one. So what you have to do is loosen these off, then put them on the stock, and just make sure that they are now sitting flush on the stock, and then you can just nip those down with a knurled knob. Now it's not too hard to do that, but even when I look at that, even with that technique, these are not still lined up, so that could take you out of centre slightly on your piece of stock. So it's a crying shame that these don't have some sort of key on them that would have made sure that these perfectly line up, and there's no guidelines here either to give you any indication, so it's so easy to get those things out of line that you may get some inaccuracies in your work. Now the other thing I don't like is how that sits on there. So you can see that's not stable, so I've now got to rig up some sort of clamping system for this to make sure it sticks on the dowel correctly and doesn't start to wobble and roll about in use. So not only can these give you inaccuracy in your line, that's not stable enough for my liking, and you're going to have to create some sort of mechanism. I don't think it's hard, but you'd have to create something, and if you're using different size dowels, obviously a different solution for each thickness of dowel. So it would have been nice to see something different here. Now I do think they've had to compromise slightly on the design for drilling through dowels with this solution because of this aluminium block here. Most other drills have this sort of cut out on the top here, and then that just lines up perfectly every single time. I think they've had to compromise because of this aluminium block here that actually does bring in a special feature of this that does differentiate it from anything else in the marketplace. But the differentiation that this brings, I think, compromises the engineering solution for the dowel. So just be aware of that. Now while I've got these on here, these also have a second purpose, and that allows you to centre onto stock. I can line this on here and twist the drill stand around, and once those two knobs that we put on either side, then this drills directly into the centre. Now there is something I want to test on these when we come to do a little bit of drilling, because the instruction says put these in position that we have, drop it on and turn it counterclockwise, and it's very specific about saying turn it counterclockwise. Now I did see somebody else's review on this when I was doing the research on the product, and they put it on and they turned it clockwise rather than counterclockwise, and they were getting inaccuracies. It wasn't drilling in the middle and they couldn't understand it, and they were about to ship the entire thing back in rage when they reread the manual and it said counterclockwise, and the minute they did it counterclockwise it was accurate, bang on centre. I don't understand why that's the case, because these should in theory be lined up to the centre of the overall jig, so I don't fully understand why that's the case, but we'll have a play and see whether that is a problem or not. Now the base itself also has some witness marks in this, and witness marks allows you to draw across on your material and make sure this lines up perfectly centred. And there's one here at the front, little pinch here at the front. Oh, there's one here at the back, a little pinch here at the back, and there's one on this inside face and one on this inside face. So if I come along and draw on my piece of stock here a centre line, and then I were to draw a cross, and therefore that there in the centre is where I would want my drill piece, my drill to go, I should now be able to drill directly down where I need that hole to be. So let's give that a go actually. That does indeed drill a hole directly in the place where I wanted that hole to be drilled. So those witness marks work incredibly well. What's interesting is the witness marks on this are a different design, and if you look at the auto line drill guide, and we'll review this on a separate video, this has got these really nice chamfers inside with these white laser engraved witness marks inside there, which makes it a lot easier to line up than this one. And once again, the reason we don't have that on this one is for this aluminium block here, the way it all mounts together. So the question is, what the hell is this aluminium block doing, and why is it so good? Now the way that Woodpeckers have designed this is really, really clever, because no matter what angle you have, those witness lines always line up. And you can see that centre hole there that we've just drilled. I'm going to push my drill bit down so it rests in that hole. Now watch my drill bit with reference to that hole. I'm going to just loosen off the handles and just pivot that forward to different angles. Do you see that drill bit? That drill bit is staying exactly lined up to that hole. And no matter what angle I go for, that drill bit stays lined up to that hole perfectly. And that is an amazing piece of engineering. Now that's working because your pivot point is further down inside this bottom frame than you'd have on other drills, including my UJK one. So this big aluminium block that we keep talking about here is essential to give you that ability to be able to line up the hole using the witness marks no matter what angle that you're at. But that does compromise. It does mean you've got this big aluminium block here to allow for that pivot point but still the adjustment, which restricts the overall diameter inside here and gives you this weird solution for drilling dowels. Now while we're here, it's churlish not to drill some holes, so let's drill some holes. Pop our fence on just for fun. I'll just line up those two internal witness marks with that line we made. I'm going to give myself depth stop of something round about there so I don't go all the way into my bench. Slide it along, make another hole. Slide it along, make another hole. You get the idea. I'm going to set an angle of 45 degrees. Now look at that for stability as well on that bench. I've got all the weight of my drill hanging at 45 degrees and this thing isn't even tipping, so that's really, really good. And there is quite a nice wide plate here as well that is perfect for just resting your hand on. Tipping a bit now as I get down to that really shallow angle. So there you go, it drills holes at a variety of angles and guides you incredibly well. I do want to have a quick look at this centering pin, just out of curiosity more than anything. Got my two pins in, going to rotate it as instructed, anti-clockwise or counterclockwise. Now I'm going to just rotate this the other way because I am interested in this. So I've just rotated that the other way, and now let's make another cut. So no surprise, we end up with two holes. One drilled anti-clockwise or counterclockwise as per the instructions, and one drilled rotating clockwise as not per the instructions. And they look pretty similar to me, look pretty central. So I just drop the drill bit back in, then yeah, that one there is central. And this one here is also central. So as I thought, providing those pins are in the centre of that frame, I couldn't really see difference clockwise or anti-clockwise, and there isn't. They're both centre into the wood, so it doesn't matter. But the instructions do say counterclockwise, anti-clockwise, just for your information. But to me, they both come out centred. One thing I did notice in use, when I'm using it with the Festool drill, this does get stuck onto this shaft a little bit. So this is not Centronics, but dropping the Centronics chuck off, you do get a standard hex drive inside your Festool drill. And that was getting stuck to the point where it's quite hard to remove. So I think if I was using a Festool drill with this, or any drill, I probably would use some sort of Jacob's chuck to go on that. That would make things a lot easier. But just note for that. I'm not sure if anybody else has had a similar problem with that, but that was getting a little bit jammed on there. And let's be honest, the drilling I was doing was not hard drilling. It was a very, very sharp Festool bit into pine and some MDF, so it wasn't a challenge. I can see with a bigger bit with more torque inside it, then that might be a slight issue for you, so just to watch out for that. So there you go. That is the Woodpeckers Auto Angle Drill, obviously from Woodpeckers. It's a quality piece of kit. It's well manufactured, it's very, very sturdy, the materials are top quality, even the plastic knob is top quality. Did I mention I love these little flag stops? Lots of versatility, lots of repeatability, the ability for that angle to hold the centre point no matter of the angle, and by centre point I mean those witness marks lining up, is great. The repeatability of the fences, either the front fence or the flag stops at the side, is absolutely great. I don't love the solution that they've made for the round stock at all. I think that's a little bit almost of an afterthought or a design compromise to allow it to do what it does so well on the auto angle side of feature, but it's workable. The chuck itself is super, super high quality. I can't see any deviation on that, but we will do an accuracy test on the next video when we compared it with the UJK, but I can't see any deviation inside that, and the holes were super, super clean. I'm disappointed we don't have any storage for these parts. I could see them getting lost, and if they're lost, your ability to use the extension kit is lost. So I think I would counsel you on storing those inside the base so they're always to hand and you know where they are, rather than leaving them in the overall bag. One thing I didn't mention, you'll see there's two little holes inside here, and there's two corresponding countersunk screws here, and that's so you can actually add a wooden fence to this if you so wish, so you can make your own fences, which might be good for different purposes, but that's got a feature for that as well. From an engineering point of view, I like it, bar that one compromise. But you cannot get away from that price point. £829.98 shipped to the UK. Although it's high quality, I would struggle to justify that price point. If you've got the budget for it, it's a no regret purpose, but for the majority of us, even though I spend a lot of money on high quality tools, it's super, super high quality, but the question is it sufficiently better quality than the UJK that is a lot lower price point? And to answer that question, we'll do a head-to-head comparison, but that will be in the next video. So thank you for watching. I hope you found it useful. Drop your comments, your points of view, your opinions. As always, Julian, once again, thank you. I'm sure Julian will lean in with his expertise to cover anything I've misrepresented, got wrong, or he wants to add. But thanks for watching, and take care in the workshop, and I'll see you next time on the Woodgrafter.